Hello everyone, this is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of Cruel and Beautiful, Eye of the Dragon, Rabbit Hole, and King Dio. Considering we're talking about Castlevania today, I would especially like you to recommend my novel Cruel and Beautiful, which is a vampire one. So go ahead and check that out on BlackCatBooks.org. Okay, so I have just finished Castlevania Order of Ecclesia for the first time. I finally got around to it. I finally managed to pick up a copy, and I finally managed to play through play through it all the way to the end. So this is like my final thoughts video. I don't think I'll be coming back to this one to 100% it. I don't think it's like that interesting. It is Bloodstained, Curse of the Moon, the original. Ritual of the Night, the original. Excuse me. I got my Bloodstained games mixed up there. Bloodstained, the original. It is the exact same game with, I think, the exact same problems. I am like really surprised at how similar they are. It's like Iga went ahead and was just like, okay, we're just gonna make Order of Ecclesia 2 with Bloodstained. That's what this is. Because like having played Bloodstained first and then coming back to this, I'm kind of baffled by like the similar like setup we have here with like the girl and like the powers and stuff like that. The different locations, like it just feels like very it feels like a very natural progression from like Order of Ecclesia to Bloodstained. Like you can totally tell the same people made it. You can totally tell like they wanted to do like something similar, and yeah, it kind of is. Order of Ecclesia is a 2D action game set in the Castlevania universe. That's more reminiscent of like classic Vania titles, at least early on. What this means is that although there are still maps, they're a lot like smaller in scale. So like in the first half of the game, you're essentially like going from like left to right and sort of like exploring areas, fighting monsters, uncovering powers, and like sort of defeating bosses all throughout the land. And then eventually you unlock Dracula's castle, and then you go through like this really brutal like gauntlet of monsters through here. It's crazy how big how high the difficulty spike is in Dracula's castle, like over and over and over again. I think there's like one difficulty spike like every area, almost every boss. It was just nonstop, man. I think that's my big problem with the game, like fundamentally. Like it's very short, but it tries to pad itself out by making bosses as ridiculously spongy and brutal as possible. Like, you're not going to figure out how to beat some of these things right away. Like, there's this one boss early on where, like, you have to climb, like, a tower, and it climbs up after you. But the thing is, it's completely invulnerable, and, like, you just kind of, like, keep hitting it to, like, try and climb up the tower. But when you get to the top, what you're supposed to do is, like, drop the elevator on top of it. And the elevator will just crush it, killing it instantly. But there's no real indication you're supposed to do that. You're just kind of like supposed to figure it out. You're supposed to like just dick around up there until you figure out like exactly what the fuck your standing arm actually is. And like that you have to interact with it in a way that's quite unlike any other Castlevania boss in history. Now, the event in question is awesome. Like, it's really satisfying to do. It's really fun. It's really engaging, but it's not at all intuitive. Like, it doesn't make any sense to do. Like, I can't begin to tell you how many times I got to the top of the tower, or got near the top, and was just, like, whacking at this thing, trying to kill it, thinking it was going to die any moment now, but apparently it can't die. Like, you have to do this specific thing that, it's not obvious you can do it. It just feels like you just have to like figure it out, and doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like you just have to like do it. And I died a couple of times before I figured it out, and when I did figure it out, I couldn't even relish how cool the sequence was in question, because I was kind of annoyed that like, oh man, I wasted a couple of tries trying to kill this thing without knowing about this thing you had to do to beat it. The entire game is like kind of filled with stuff like that. Like, there are bosses with attacks that, like, just completely demolish you. There are areas that will just kick your teeth in. There are subquests that are just tedious as all out to do. Like, the game just feels way too grindy for what it is. Like, I think the Castlevania series at this point kind of suffers from like this need to like grind. Like, I feel like leveling up in Castlevania should just be a part of like exploring the castle. You just level up and become stronger. Like, it should like help you beat the castle, but it shouldn't like make you. It shouldn't be like required to proceed, right? It shouldn't be something you need to do in order to like, you know, tank more hits from the enemy, or just survive certain attacks, or just, you know, deal more damage. Like I feel like the Castlevania should primarily be about like the equipment and like the weapons you have. Like I feel almost like it was too much. Like, there was too much going on. Like, you have like all these elements that don't make a whole lot of sense. Like, you have like light attributes, you have dark attributes that I think I only like bothered to do once, because like there was only one boss I think in the entire game that had like a dark attack that like I needed to like resist in order to kill it. So, you know, I equipped some dark resistant armor and then never used that specific set again. Like, for one boss, for one sequence of Dracula's Castle, I had to like, you know, grind the money for it. I think I had to do some side quests. I think I had to like buy the stuff. I had to equip it. I had to grind a little bit for EXP. And then I fought this thing, and then like I proceeded to get my ass kicked by the next boss. Like, it's just, it doesn't feel like you're really good at the game in this situation, right? Like, it feels like you're just kind of like cheesing your way through it. Like, it just kind of feels like, okay, if I'm struggling with this boss, I'm gonna like do this, and this, so like to deal with it. But like, doing those things to prepare for it isn't fun. Like, I feel like you should like have the tools you need to succeed already, and then just sort of like use them. Like, just have the skill to use them against the boss. Like, that's my big complaint. Like, it doesn't feel like the game requires much skill at all. It's entirely just having the right equipment and just using your most powerful glyph. Like, that's it. Like, that's really all you need to do to beat this thing. And like, by the time I beat Dracula, it almost felt like, I don't want to say it was a waste of time, but it felt like I really should have done this like a long time ago. Like, it didn't feel like I really needed to struggle to get here. Like, it just felt like, okay, that was like pointlessly time consuming. Like, it wasn't a hard fight in and of itself. Right, he has plenty of easily avoidable attacks. He's not super challenging, but like I was still dying a lot because of like just how hard he hits, and like how like hard to find healing items are in this game. It's ridiculous. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. But yeah, it seems like I'm kind of down on the game. I'm really not. I did enjoy it a lot. It's a lot of fun to play when it's good. Like, the areas are beautiful, the visuals are great. I love the sprite work in this, especially for like some of the monsters. They're great. The main protagonist, Shinoa, looks great. You know, I love like her design and like the back tattoo and like the flowing hair and stuff like that. Her character traits. This has to be. I just have to say this. Shinoa has to be like the most likable Castlevania character I think I've seen. I'll have to replay like a Portrait of Ruin to be sure, but like I think Jonathan and Charlotte were kind of bland and kind of uninteresting, especially Charlotte, which is kind of a shame to say because I love them. I love Soma. I love like I love all these guys except fucking Just. Fuck that guy. Love everyone. Love most of the playable protagonists, but like Shinoa actually feels like she has a real character arc. She feels like she has a real personality. She feels like she has a real conflict. She feels like she has like a real goal. Like, when she first arrives at Castlevania and she's just like, I am the morning sun, here to vanquish this horrible night. I was just like, holy fucking shit, that is badass. I loved her. She was so cool. She easily, I think, would have gone on to be like my favorite Castlevania protagonist. if like Order of Ecclesia had gotten a sequel, if we had gotten like a follow up to this character, because like she's super interesting, she's unique, she has a lot going for her, but like I just think she's kind of held back by like the nature of the game. Like they could have done. I don't know. Did you have to have a Castlevania game where you fight Dracula? Like maybe that could have been the gimmick in that like you just need to like find the power to beat Dracula, and then like not have to deal with Dracula himself because that's beyond you. That's another thing that's interesting about Shinoa is that like the story seems to like really strongly indicate that she's nowhere near strong enough to beat Dracula without Dominus, which I think is kind of an interesting angle to go with the story. Is that like Shinoa's not all that powerful of a character, at least going by like the whole ability to kill Dracula thing. So like she has to struggle a lot more, and that's interesting. That actually leads to like interesting character moments and like again like an interesting dilemma. Now it's not like super compelling or anything like that, but I would say like out of all like the all the 2D Castlevania games, this probably has by far like the best like legitimately good story. Like when Shinoa smiles at the end, you end up like just being like, oh man, that's adorable. Oh man, love it. It's kind of unsettling too because she really doesn't smile, but throughout the entire thing. But it actually gets you. It's actually like it's simple, but it's cute and it's charming. I enjoy it. And you kind of end up wondering what happens to her after that. I don't think there's any indication we have any idea. We would have known if Order of Ecclesia 2 had gotten made, but of course it didn't because fucking Konami ruining everything wonderful in the world. Fuck Dracula. Like, Konami is the eternal knight that needs to be vanquished. Like, holy shit. So anyway. All in all, like, the game is far from my favorite 2D Castlevania. Like, I think, like, Aria is better than it, Portrait is better than it. Like, I want to say, like, Dawn of Sorrow is better than it. Like, I want to say, like, Circle of the Moon is better than it. Like, I want to say Bloodline, Super Castlevania 4, the original is better than it. But I think that's just me being picky. The game is still legitimately good. It has good elements to it, but, like, they just don't come together as well as I think some of these other games. I think it's kind of a flawed gem in that way. I think hardcore fans will really dig it. I was certainly into it throughout my playthrough. But personally, I would recommend like other games in the series, like first, like for sure, like Aria I think is a better bet. I think Symphony is probably a better bet. I don't know. I think there are easier games in the series that are a lot higher in quality. Personally, and this is just my opinion, I think Order of Ecclesia is the one you should play last. It was the last one they made. I do consider it the hardest game in the series, at least the 2D Metroid-like series. It has lots of tedious aspects to it, but like there's a lot of good there too. So if you're a fan of like all the other games, I would recommend you to go ahead and check this one out.